Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Ice Cold Takes podcast. I'm your host, Joey DeMeglio. And on Thursday, the New York Rangers officially began training camp. We already have lots of questions that I'm sure will get answered in time about line combinations, coaching style, analytics, and a whole lot more. This week's guest is Jacob Berkowitz from the Ranting Rangers Podcast. Jacob, thanks for joining again. How are you?
Of course, yeah. It's been a while. It's definitely been a few solid minutes,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
it's been a while, man. New
I mean,
podcast, new podcast name for you. No longer New York Rangers. It is now Ranting Rangers. How's everything going with that?
it was actually a couple of months in the making, but we were waiting for the beginning of the season, or prior to change it, and yeah, we're happy to make the switch. We wanted to go with a little less of a negative vibe, but still, have that fan type of name. So I think we kind of nailed it on that one.
Yeah, and you guys kept the art style too, which is really nice. Like I like the microphone. It really pops. Like I love it. It's not the Statue of Liberty though.
No, it's not. It's
Yeah.
not the Statue of Liberty. It's not the Statue of Liberty. That is a very, very nice logo.
Yeah, I know. My love for the Liberty jerseys, it's very passionate. So, that's just you know, that's it takes up the entire podcast cover art, you know what I mean? It's the basis for the design, you know. I don't know if they're going to bring back the Liberties this year, but I'm excited to see what those Stadium Series jerseys are going to look like. I actually just got tickets for the Stadium Series game today. I'm really
What do you like?
excited
Sell
about
your
that.
car or something?
No, we got a good deal. Me and my friend, we got a bunch of tickets, and he found one of the season ticket holders. And I don't know why you would be selling those for cheap, but I'm not
Wow.
complaining.
Well, I went to the one in 2018. It
Oh,
was
the
the
the one at Citi
best.
Field.
Yeah, it was so cold. The friend who I went with, he had to go actually back and sign because his iPhone froze. It just straight up froze. He had to
Wow.
go inside to let it, you know, it just would not work, and he had to go inside. And yeah, that was when Miller scored the overtime goal. Everyone's like, "All right, let's go. We're leaving. We're leaving." I mean, everyone was ecstatic when he scored, but it was so cold. But honestly, I would never not go to a game because of the cold. But yeah, it was pretty bad.
So the phone froze. Now that is an ice cold take, man.
Oh, there we go.
Oh man, I've seen the phone like overheat, like be outside in really hot weather, and I've seen like the message on iPhones or even on the Android say like, you know, it's too hot, you can't use your phone, wait for it to cool down. But I've never seen what happens like when it gets too cold. I've never been in that scenario before. I guess I've never been outside when it's that cold.
Yeah, it was. Is City Field by the water? I don't. I don't like. I don't
Yeah, I
follow.
think so. I
So
I
it
think
kind of
so.
makes sense why it was so cold. I mean, it was January 1st. So
Yeah, it's like typically when it gets like really, really cold, especially on the East Coast. This winter wasn't too bad. We didn't have too much snow.
no,
Um,
that's the thing. Like, if you're gonna be this cold, you got to give us snow. Like that. That's the rule. If you're gonna be freezing, this year was really cold though. No, but it was just no snow. I mean,
I
that's
thought
not
it
a
was
fair
actually a
trade.
warmer winter, to be honest. Like in New Jersey, we have some pretty cold ones, pretty cold winters there. Snow is bad for business, of course. I haven't mentioned the pizzeria in such a long time, but snow is bad for the pizzeria there. Like that's
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
it's horrible. But we are a no quit business, and if it snows, we're still open. We're not closing for anything. um, but anyways, training camp is finally started. Um, Obviously, as a Rangers fan, you as a Rangers fan, we're all super excited for it to start. We get to see our favorite players back in action. Even if today was just they didn't even do any drills, it was just like a bag skate essentially. Um, it was just fun to see like all the content, like to see Kako and Zibanejad back and Truba and Rangers Twitter's already starting with the content. Matty Jack is going nuts with his crazy scenarios. I don't know if you saw any of those.
I try not to see the ones where he creates a mix of the faces. It's just nightmare stuff. We have to put a stop to it.
I asked him how to do one of those on like a Photoshop. Like,
He on his birthday. Well, I don't remember. I think it was last week. I said, like, I added him and said, I'm like, all right, I'm giving him a pass for today since it's his birthday. And I regretted it 2 minutes later, not even 3 minutes later. He posted Lundqvist and a mix of someone else in an Islanders jersey. And I'm like, oh, come
man.
on. Like, you can't take it that far. But, you know, I said, let him off the hook for the whole day. And you got to own it.
The best was the Lafreniere and the Kako one. That kind of just like fit. Like I like that one a lot.
There
That
were a few that fit, but there were just some that were like, burn it. Just burn it. Burn it.
Oh my gosh, yeah, he's great. But the first presser in the start of training camp with Laviolette. So we're interested to see like what his coaching style is going to be. I have heard it's going to be like a left wing lock kind of deal. And I was looking into the left wing lock today and what that means. Apparently it's highly aggressive. I'm gonna ask, I have Johnny Lazarus coming on next week. So I'm gonna ask him about it since he's a hockey player, which is perfect.
Yeah, I'm
I'll
a
ask
goalie.
him
I
what
can't help you there.
yeah. Stop the puck. That's what Quick said today.
That's all it is.
My goal is just stop the puck. Stop the puck. I like that mentality. Just I don't know when I'm gonna play, but whenever I do play, I have to stop the puck. Like it's like I don't always drink beer, but when I do, I prefer Dos Equis. It's like I don't always play goalie, but when I do, I stop the puck.
Exactly.
Yeah. But interesting thing to note, Lafreniere is going to be on the right side in training camp. It's like officially confirmed he's going to take reps on the right side. Um and I theorized it throughout the summer, like maybe they should try it again because the first 15 games kind of went really well analytically for the Rangers at this past season, if you recall, like when they tried Panarin, Trocheck, Lafreniere. 5v5, the numbers were pretty good, but it was just goals, actual goals, pucks in the back of the net that the Rangers weren't capitalizing on in the first 15 to 20 games of the season. So, Lafreniere, how do you think that might work out for him on the right side?
Honestly, I'm holding my breath because I've been fooled so many times by coaches saying we're going to give him time, we're going to put him on the second line, and then the minute he makes a mistake, he's back to the third line. So I'm kind of like not. I'm hoping they actually stick to what they say, but I've been fooled too many times, and he should be on the right wing, second line, because you got to give him time. I mean, how much consistent ice time has he gotten on the second line? Like you just mentioned, 15 games in, you can't just be 15 games, and
Especially when it was working well.
right. Well, that was the thing I remember is that everything was working well. It's just the puck was not going in, whether it was a post, whether a goalie stood on his head, whatever it was. It's just it seemed like it was one more step to everything finally fitting in. And then they started changing everything up because they wanted to, a quick fix. And that's kind of when everything fell apart. And then you remember the downward spiral where it ended up Gallant might be fired.
Yeah.
And
The whole
famous
the whole
Trubov throw.
team, yeah, the whole team like stopped playing. But like that bad luck Lafreniere or the entire team had for that stretch of games, like that applied to Kako the entire year. Like Kako was staying.
He had Rick
like
Nash luck.
Yeah, like Kako was staying. Like he was as good as those first 15 games. Like you know the numbers, right? Like for the analytics, like the Kreider Zibanejad Kako line was great. Like
Oh,
one
it
of
was
our best
absurd.
lines. Yeah, it was good. Like they just weren't getting the goals. That luck or no luck that Kako had carried the entire season from start to finish. Like he had chance after chance after chance. Always, always, always putting in work in the corners, drawing penalties, taking shots, stuff like that. Doing something out there with the ships. The same didn't apply for Lafreniere, and I'm already hearing a lot of like criticism for him based on, like what he did in the offseason. I don't know if I don't want it to be this way because I like the kid, but I'm wondering if he's going to be the scapegoat this year for fans.
I mean, I was really, really hoping. And again, it's a lot to hope for a beat writer to say day one, Laffy's skating has looked a lot better. I didn't see that. We did see actually Kako, as a matter of fact. Laffy was the one that was cheering him on.
Yeah.
But he had
Well,
to
he's
get
always like
better
that.
at
Yeah, he's a
skating.
good
Yeah.
teammate.
Yeah, but he had to get better at his skating. He didn't have enough space and time because, like, what do we even know what he is? Is he a playmaker? Is he a goal scorer? Like, what is he? And the thing is, we don't even know because he doesn't have the space and time to do those things. And it's just you got to work on your skating. And if he doesn't, it's just a question of, listen, I've been defending Lafreniere since day one. And it comes to the point then where it's like, okay, is he going to become anything? Because if he doesn't improve that, how is he going to take the next step? And yeah, listen, the other side, the Rangers organization didn't do him any favors with his development, but there is still blame on his side as well.
I'm going to take a lesson from, how I defended Kravtsov for so long, and I'm going to be a little bit more concerned with Lafreniere because, as a fan, I wasn't concerned with Kravtsov until the very, very end. And then I admitted I was wrong. I was wrong. Kravtsov was not the player that I thought he was. And, I always had hope that he would prove me wrong or prove everybody wrong and be the player that the Rangers drafted him to be. That just was not the case. It didn't work out. Lafreniere, this is like, if that happens, it's unacceptable because he's the first overall pick. Like, this is the Rangers lucked into that. And the fact that they didn't take advantage of it, yet they're still borderline playoff cup contenders. We will answer that question later on in the show. But the fact that they're still, even without Lafreniere, like a really, really good team, I mean, that says a lot about the team. But it could be even better if they, capitalize on that opportunity they lucked into with getting Lafreniere first overall.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's saying, where's our big acquisition this offseason? Your big acquisition is the kids taking the next step. That's your big acquisition right there. And it's just with Kravtsov, listen, I'll eat it. I was 100% wrong on Kravtsov. But the thing is that they didn't give him the time to see it. So yeah, it ended up he was a bust. But if you go in with the mentality of always just like giving them, I don't know, the shortest leash possible, it's never going to work out in general. So while in that situation, okay, it ended up he was a bust, doesn't mean the way you went along with it was the correct way.
It was the way that Kravtsov processed it and handled it that was the problem. Like, and it continues with Vancouver. Like, he already went back to the KHL. And
well,
I think
I'm saying,
he got hurt,
listen,
too.
Kravtsov was there was plenty of blame on Kravtsov's side. Plenty. Yeah. I'm saying when Kravtsov came in last season in the offseason, he did everything the Rangers asked. Listen, I'm not excusing what he did beforehand. I'm just saying afterwards in the offseason, he did everything they asked. He came in with the mentality they wanted, and he didn't get that shot. And it's, okay, maybe he didn't deserve it. Maybe he didn't deserve it. Who cares? All that matters is now, right? Do you want to give him a chance? And literally it just benefits the team. But no, they chose Goodrow on the second line. Like, it wasn't that they actually had a player already there, right? That should be there. So it never really made sense. And while in the end he ended up being a buzz, it doesn't mean they went along with it the right way.
Now I'm wondering, what were the Rangers' expectations? What did they ask Lafreniere to do this offseason? I know what Steve Valiquette asked him.
Oh, yeah, everyone knows what Valiquette asked him.
Yeah, I know what fans wanted him to do. But what did the Rangers want for him? Did they think he was in a good spot when he scored 0 points in the playoffs? He looked good at times, but no points in the playoffs.
The thing is, no one looked good. And when no one looks good, it's hard to evaluate individually.
After the first 3 games, nobody looked good.
No one showed up. And that was a problem that everyone's saying Laviolette has to address. And he's a very hands-on coach. No one showed up. And the thing is, like, what was the system? Can any of us explain exactly what was Gallant's system? So what are the players supposed to do? They're a bunch of headless chickens on ice. I
the
don't
way they're going to play. And Gallant
exactly.
is already is saying like, well, we don't have the personnel to do my system. So, I mean, like
What is your system?
that's a problem you should have addressed like way earlier then,
But what
because
is even the system?
right. And like I keep hearing Laviolette talk about the identity. Like he keeps mentioning the word identity in these pressers, and like you need to have an identity. You need to press hard. You need to be resilient and aggressive on the forecheck, be fast, pace. Like these key words that keep getting thrown out. This and I go let's go back to what you said at the very beginning of the show. Like, you were hoping that essentially what you were saying is you're hoping Laviolette puts his money where his mouth is and
Exactly.
like actually, you know, comes through on that. Laviolette's been in the league for a long, long time, far longer than Gerard Gallant ever was. So if anybody's gonna do it, it's gonna be Laviolette. So like I have hope that he'll come through and make good on those promises. But I am also slightly concerned based on history with, DQ and GG, like that, it might not happen. Like I'm on edge with that. But what is the identity of the Rangers? What is it going to be this year? Is it going to be all skill and, puck possession dominance, or are they going to are they going to force teams into turnovers and be hardworking and a really tough team to play against? That's what I think Chris Drury would like to see because, those are all the qualities that he's emphasized in the past. Like, what go back to like when he acquired Goudreau, Sammy Blais, Reeves, you know what I mean? So it would make sense that, that's the style that you know, Laviolette is going to employ, seeing as Drury hired Laviolette. You know?
Yeah, no, I like again, I've been burnt way too many times on this. Like he said all the right things. And if this was the first time I ever heard a coach uh have a media conference, I would be ecstatic right now. But again, I've been burnt way too many times. That's not to say I'm assuming it's not going to happen. That's not what I'm
Yeah.
saying. It's
So,
just I'm going to wait and see what happens. What happens when Lafreniere makes a mistake? What happens when he turns it over? Is he going back to the third line or is he going to stay on that second line? What's going to happen there? And what happens when a veteran makes a mistake? Are they going to be treated the same? Is it going to be all about the grit? Is there going to be a balance between the grit and skill? Now, I know there's the whole thing of the old man hockey philosophy of all about grit. And as much as I criticize it from today to tomorrow, there is a little merit to it in the sense that, again, you can't just play the perimeter game. You got to get in the nitty gritty. You got to get to have that sandpaper game. You got to crash the net. The things they got to work on is playing a full 60, no perimeter game, the breakout. 5-5 kind of sums it up. And another thing is do not back up when the opponents are coming into your zone. I don't know why they do it.
and
It
just
makes no sense, but they just basically roll out the red carpet for them and let them come in the zone. And when Laviolette said aggressive neutrals, and I'm like, thank you. Someone is addressing this. It's not the defense isn't going in, but it's something.
Yeah. I talked with Statboy Steven last week about how the Rangers would very often spend only like 5 seconds on an offensive zone shift. But when other teams come in the zone, they'd spend like 2 minutes there multiple times a game. So rolling the red carpet out for them as the other team walks in, that pretty much sums it up perfectly how it feels to be a Rangers fan the past couple of years.
And that's the thing, like there are things that are more complex, or it's just either, oh, we're not that good, or it's just too complex of a problem where it's not like an easy fix. Some of these things are easy fixes, and that's what makes it so frustrating, right? All it takes is a meeting with the players and trying to fix it, try to work at it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, while we're not in the back with them and we can't tell if that's actually happening, I don't see a scenario where that actually happened and it didn't change at all. Like, how do you not change letting them in the zone based off a conversation? It's just my assumption then the conversation clearly never happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I particularly like too how Laviolette's like honest, like, listen, training camp, we're gonna go with different lines every day. Like you're gonna see group a group like players A, B, and C together on one day, and then tomorrow you're gonna see uh, A, B, D players A, B, D tomorrow. Like, and it doesn't matter how well they play because Gallant, like, I remember vividly when the Rangers traded for Andrew Kopp and Frank Vetrano, and they made their deadline acquisitions. After Gallant said, "All right, we're gonna experiment a couple games, see what works." Instead of experimenting, the first set of lines he put together worked, and he stuck with them. He didn't change anything. He didn't change anything.
It's
But
weird because this year he switched everything up every what?
yeah,
Other
yeah,
period?
that's a good point. I remember that. Yes, his first year, he barely made any changes. And this year, he made changes every other second.
And then they wonder why no line works. Well, I hate to break it to you, buddy, but you got to give them time. I mean, what do you expect it to be successful like right off the bat? That's not how it works. These aren't robots. These are players. These are human beings. It takes time to adjust, to gain chemistry. It's just, it's not a quick success.
Yeah.
It was so frustrating. Like, what are you doing?
It was so telling how your players like Kakko was like, yeah, I was upset that I was moved off that line again. I thought I was
after
doing
30
really
seconds.
well. Yeah, after 30 seconds. Like Kakko was killing it first 15, 20 games of the season. If anybody deserved to stay there, it was him. Like I think Kakko can be like a Stephen McDonald extra effort award winner this year. I think he can be.
Oh, I could definitely see that.
I could see it because, I'm not saying like taking it away from like any other Ranger. Like there plenty of guys on the team like put in tons of effort. I'm not saying that. In the playoffs, there was a lot to be desired. They left a lot to be desired. A lot of the players. It falls on everybody's shoulders, everybody's plate. But Kakko has consistently from the second year in his career in the NHL, consistently put in the effort to make himself a better player. He's gotten stronger, he's gotten faster, he's shot harder. We saw that last year. Now we're seeing his speed this year. He's skating faster. You know what I mean? Like the goals are going to come. I think Mike Rupp was talking about this on NHL Network that the goals are going to start coming. And so don't be surprised if he pops.
I have him as a 30-goal scorer this year.
Yeah, a 30-goal scorer. If he finishes those, how many goals did he score last year? What was it, like 15 maybe?
I think 18 goals.
18 goals. Okay. There are so many opportunities.
If you count 50% of the time he hit posts, he'd probably have 25, right? Like it's all about the luck. And honestly, with an actual structure now and a system, what a concept. I know every single year, especially me, I'm saying this is the time they're going to break out. This is the time they're going to break out. And I know it seems like, okay, this is just another time where I'm going to say this is the time they're going to break out. But I mean, every single year he's improved. And now it just seems like all the pieces are coming together where he's just going to break out.
Mm-hmm. You have more of a reason to believe that a breakout is coming with Kakko than Lafreniere. And it's 100%. A very, very big difference because Lafreniere takes shifts off. And I hate to criticize him, but he does. He does take shifts off. I have to call it out. Call balls and strikes here. Like there's times where Lafreniere looks slow out there. You don't notice him.
But he doesn't show sparks like Kakko, right? Like even Kakko's first year, right? Like analytically, it was horrendous.
Oh,
but
yeah.
It was like
he was one of the worst forwards.
Right. But like there were points in a game where he made a little play and you pointed like right there. That's what people were talking about him being good at. Like when he was a puck possession monster. Like he still is, but I'm saying like that's what the first thing he was known for, right? You're like there, right there. That's what he's known for. And at least you could see the sparks, the potential. With Lafreniere, besides those 2 highlight reel goals at the end, do you see anything? I thought he was the recipient of every goal, almost every goal he scored and every point he scored. And even on the kill line, it was just he was the passenger of the 3. Of course, there were sometimes he did contribute, but it always seemed like he was the passenger. And he's got to start taking the initiative. And is it a question of, again, if this was anyone but the Rangers, I'd seriously question Lafreniere more, but it's because of the Rangers' reputation of developing I lean more towards, okay, give him more time. I mean, like, what do you have to lose at this point? First of all, they're going, if they're going to go deep into the playoffs or even manage to win the cup, it's because the kids took the next step.
Mm-hmm.
There is no scenario where you're doing any of that with Lafreniere, Kako, and Hedel not taking the next step.
You can't expect Blake Wheeler to score 70 points or 80 points like he
That's
did
what I'm afraid
when
of
he was
also.
in Winnipeg.
He's
You
gonna
can't
be-
expect that.
That's what I'm afraid of, though. If Lafreniere makes a little mistake and then all of a sudden Blake Wheeler ends up on the second line. Because I was happy actually that because I was happy actually they were forced this time around due to the cap that they couldn't get a big acquisition. They are forced to play the kids now. And the Rangers always looked for a way for an easy, quick fix, something like that, or a Band-Aid, Safeway, whatever it was. But now it's an actual sink or swim. The only way I see it not being like that is because of Blake Wheeler replacing Lafreniere on that second line. And if they do that, it's back to square one again. Because, again, there is no scenario where if Lafreniere doesn't take the next step, you're winning the cup. It's just not happening. You need the kids to take the next step. So it doesn't really – these Band-Aid situations are just regular season Band-Aids. They're not going to help you in the playoffs.
There's no outside help coming. This is the team. It's not like Patrick Kane. They're going to sign him, and he's going to come back, and, you know, he'll be the right-wing answer. Like, while that will be the Band-Aid, it's not fixing the team for the next 2 years. You know what I mean?
And that's the thing. Why do you put your eggs in one basket?
Right.
Like, if you have Kane, that means Lafreniere's not there. And if Lafreniere's not there, that means he's not developing. So you just essentially, if there was any chance of developing him, you just ruin that, and you just ruin years of a great player being on your team, right?
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, you limited your window to 1 or 2 years. You just put all your eggs in one basket. Why? Why did you have to do that? And with now them having that cap space, right, that very limited cap space, it forced them now to have to play the kids. They couldn't go looking for another big acquisition. I mean, that's kind of why I'm really excited about this team, is because all the teams that you see win a cup aren't because of a last-minute big acquisition, right? It's always because they got the pieces they needed, not necessarily the best player, right? They needed a puck-moving defenseman. They got that. They needed a better fourth line. They got that. They needed more depth. They got that. Just because it wasn't a big player, the new toy, quote unquote, it doesn't mean it's not going to be a big difference. And I think that's the problem. What people fail to understand is that it doesn't have to be a big acquisition in order to make a big difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think with Lafreniere too, like, to go back to him, it's internal. Like, he's got to at some point say, like, all right, I'm the first overall pick to get bridged since Yakupov. This is what my friend Python says. Like, I'm the first overall pick to be bridged since Yakupov, who was a bust. Do I want to be that way? Do I want that, or do I want this big contract with all this money like everybody else has gotten, like McKinnon, McDavid, Hughes? Do I really want to be just, you know, a couple dollars here and there, you know, and that's it, call it a day? I made my money. Or do I want to buy in and play the best damn hockey I've ever played? You know, like that, I would be insulted by that. If
Remember
it were me.
when he, what was it? It was against the Kings in Byfield. Remember, Byfield scored and then Lafreniere scored, and it's like number one. Like, that's the type of mentality you liked from him, when he had that competitive mentality. It doesn't matter how much skill or potential a player has if they're not going to actually commit to it, if they're not going to put in the work. That skill might as well be the equivalent of a gritty seventh defenseman, for all I care, because it's not going to amount to anything.
Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Exactly. But that's the thing also, that the old coaches think is that old work always beats skill. No. It's a balance. And that's always been a problem. It's that it seemed always black and white when it's really in the gray.
Speaking of balance, what is promising is Laviolette's take on analytics. So I was reading Vince's article from today from the camp takeaways, and he was asked about Laviolette was asked about analytics, and this is what he had to say. So he said, "I want analytics to give me information that I can use to help me make my team better. Inside of that, I don't think that you can get just completely hung up on numbers. I do think that there's a feel to the game. There's my eyes and my knowledge of a person or a player." And then he gives an example. If your top centerman is 65% in the faceoff circle or 62% in the faceoff circle, and he's having a tough night, and there's one faceoff that has to be won, and it's on his strong side, and you believe in this one person, you don't have to just say, "I'm going to go against it." You may, and I think you have to take that information in and analyze it, and then make a hockey decision on what you want to do. So it sounds like this is a quote from Vince's article. Go check it out on. I guess I got to plug him because I'm
How do you
reading this
even
article.
pronounce it? I never knew how to.
Lowhud.com
Lowhud, that's what it
/sports/Rangers. I've listened to his podcast so much that it's like it rolls off the tongue like
I always
easy.
forget how you pronounce Lowhud. I
Lowhud,
always forget
yeah.
for some weird reason.
Yeah. Well, I like this. I like that he's not nah, screw analytics. Nah, I'm an old man coach. Nah, screw that. I came a long way to understanding. If you've been a long time listener of the show, you would know that, I was not always in favor of analytics. I always thought they sucked. But, I'm starting to find, the areas where they can be helpful. And the way Laviolette puts it, I think it's perfect. Like, use it to help you come up with a decision. I like that. I like that a lot. Don't just dismiss it and be like, "Nah, I don't know what this means. Nah, screw that." Just like, okay, you could treat it almost like a counting stat, like a 60, like you said, 62% in the dot. I don't know if he's saying go with the guy who was having an off night, or if he was saying try somebody else. But the way he addressed that situation, I like everything about that.
Yeah, I mean, he keeps on saying what you want to hear.
Yeah.
Right. But
Yeah.
for me,
Here
it's
we go
like
again.
I'm sorry. I keep on saying same thing. I'm like, I'm going to wait. I've been burnt too many times. I'm excited about what he's saying, but again, I'm not going to come to the conclusion this is what it's going to be yet. And it's not a knock on him. It's just in general. It's just the experience of having coach after coach say stuff,
Yeah.
and it just goes on a 180. Like, it's easy to say it now in the preseason, but what happens in December when you're fighting for points and the team's on a little bit of a losing streak? All of a sudden, it's a different tone, right? So you got to wait. Obviously, I'm not saying wait till December, but see the next couple of weeks. We'll see how things actually play out. And then I'll start getting really excited about it.
Yeah,
Again, I am very excited about the season. It's just I'm waiting to see what's going to happen here.
And it's got to be more than just like one game where he doesn't
exactly
dismiss a player because he made a mistake. Like, because Gallant would do that. Like, there were times where Kako, for example, would make a mistake and he would still be in the same spot like the following shift or for the rest of the game. But then there were a million other times, like in his first year and even in his second year, where like Lafreniere would make a mistake and then all of a sudden he's on the fourth line. Right?
Yeah.
He did it with Kreider at the beginning of last year too. Like, Kreider was not having a good go. Like, that was like, okay, like he was having a rough stretch. Like, it wasn't just one bad shift. It was like a few bad games he had, and he went to the fourth line. I don't know if you remember that in the beginning of last season.
Kreider?
I think in that Detroit game, the Rangers lost in overtime after having the 2-goal lead. I think that's when he got demoted in the fourth line, if I remember correctly.
I think I remember that. I'm not sure.
This is where I need like the third person on the show, like Jamie from Joe Rogan. Like, Jamie, can you pull that up?
I think it was like, what was it like it was during the third period or something for like a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
If that's what it was. I think that I think I recall that now. But again, like, it's for me, doing any individual player analysis is very hard because you can't tell me all 21 players that they all didn't show up one night or they all weren't playing well this night. That doesn't happen without something in the background happening, right? You can't say all these players are just lazy or they just spaz half the game or they're too busy watching the Mets or Yankees game. something else is happening. Clearly, it just doesn't exist without something else happening. And obviously, everyone's like, it's Golan. It's clearly Golan. So now we need to see with Laviolette, how much of what was it with the coach and how much was it with the players? And some players you'll see it was more the coach than them, and some of them you'll see it was more the player than the actual coach.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This is the big question here for the episode, and for the start of the season. I've kind of talked about this with my friends too. Are the Rangers true Stanley Cup contenders? I'll go first. I'll say it. No. I need proof. I need proof again. And this is coming just one full season removed from a conference final run in 2021, 2022. And I'm saying that they are playoff contenders, not Stanley Cup contenders. There's a difference.
Is this assuming this is not taking into account any trade deadline acquisitions, correct?
Yeah, I'm not saying that. I'm saying as of right now.
Okay, as of right now.
Yeah, like I don't know anything how they're gonna play under Laviolette. I've said in the past 2 episodes, like I expect some growing pains first couple weeks of the season, maybe. Like first month might be a little rough. I would predict, if I had to guess, like I'm just gonna guess and say the Rangers are gonna end the month of October at 500. But that is like I need to see a lot.
No, I get that. Yeah, no, that's a fair ask.
Based off of the way they were eliminated in against the Devils, I say they're not true Stanley Cup contenders. They're not like Tampa Bay or Colorado or Vegas. They're like one tier lower, if you know what I mean. They're like Toronto.
Yeah. The thing is, when you have Igor Shesterkin, you always stand a chance, right? And when people say the Devils are going to be scary for years, that's true. There's no question about it. But I'm like, we got something that they don't. We have Shesterkin. They have, I don't know. I don't think they know who's going to be in net yet.
Yeah.
That's the situation there.
Okay.
Right? And I was terrified that they were going to get Hellebuck this offseason.
Yeah,
I'm like, please, if they get Hellebuck, this is a serious problem.
It's over.
Actually, I was thinking today when I was thinking about the goaltending situation with Quick, I realized that it's possible that they didn't go out and get him, because you see with all these big time goalies, whenever they switch teams, it takes a year for them to adjust. And Hellebuck only has 1 more year, right? So it's like Bobrovsky, although he had like one incredible playoff run, right? But he never really truly adjusted. Markstrom, it took a year for him to adjust, right? So these goalies, whenever you're in a different system as a goalie, it takes a lot of time to adjust sometimes. And I don't know if the amount that you would have to give up for him, would it then be worth it? Unless you knew for sure that he was going to resign. Then it's a different conversation. But if you only know it's 1 year, you're not sure, it's very, very different conversation.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I thought he was a free agent actually, Hellebuck, this offseason. This is his last year of the deal. So next offseason, the Devils are going to be in contention for that for sure.
They're definitely going to take a swing at him.
Yeah. They would be stupid not to. But I mean, to your point about Shesterkin, like, yes, obviously great goaltender. He could win you a game. He could win you 2 games. He could even win you a series probably in the playoffs, right? Like we've seen it happen before with him. And we've seen it with Lundqvist. Like he did it plenty of times for us, for the Rangers. But when the team in front of you is as good as your goaltender, then nobody's going to beat you. And that's what I look for as a Stanley Cup contender. The Vegas Golden Knights just won their first Stanley Cup in franchise history with a 3rd-string goaltender. So that means that the team in front of them was good enough that it didn't matter who was there. Right?
Right.
Like, and if their 1st-string goaltender was in there, I'd imagine that they would have won in a few games fewer. You know what I mean? Like it would have taken them less games to get to the spot that they were at.
I mean, there are different ways of getting there, right?
Yeah.
You could have a dominant offense, right? You could have dominant goaltending. Yep. There are different ways to win. And it's funny that the Rangers organization sees with Lundqvist, you still need to give him support, and we're back. We've seen this before.
This is why. Like when I say true Stanley Cup contenders, like it takes a little bit extra for me, like because like with Lundqvist, the Rangers always had balanced teams, but it was just like whatever was in front of Lundqvist was a shade.
Well, they always lacked
him.
a true game breaker.
Yes,
that's what they always lacked. They had the depth. That's what killed the Penguins against them, right? They had Crosby and Malkin, except we had a fourth line that could score in Game 7, right? Yeah. Like that was a serious problem with them.
You put one of Zibanejad, Fox, or Panarin on those Rangers, and they win a cup, at least one. You know?
Yeah.
So
I think I'm trying to think. I've always tried to think like what would happen if like a guy like Panarin or Zibanejad were on those teams. It's just,
the Rangers wouldn't be cap compliant for sure, but in a perfect world, then that would be awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it would be toast. But the thing is, like with the Devils series, right? Everyone has a bad taste in their mouth from that. But it's just like with me, it's like there is no physical possible way that a team can just be a no-show for 4-3 games in a row just because of the players. There's no way. That's why when there's a coaching change, it's not just a coaching change in system, it's that you're going to see the players show up now. And the difference between just being them being an absolute no-show and them actually showing up is going to be an incredible difference. And that's what I think people are underestimating. And the assistant coaches, I mean, now the kids have actually people that go to help them develop also, right?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this coaching staff too. I thought you would be as well.
I know I knocked this podcast, knocked the Rangers a few times with their development and such, but Drury, masterclass job this offseason. If you want to argue that he put himself in this position, that's a different conversation. But this offseason knocked it out of the park.
Yep.
So with the contending, I see them as like a dark horse as of right now, where it's like, everything perfectly lines up where Shesterkin, right? Like what happens to Lafreniere, like at the end of December is breaking out. Like this is an entirely different conversation, right?
Yeah, like what happens if Lafreniere just
the problem is there are so many
goals.
Questions. Yeah. Right? There are so many questions with so many variables and possibilities where there are versions of this where they are, and there are versions of this where this is a nightmare.
That's that's why I'm saying right here, right now, Thursday, September 21st, 2023, my answer is no. The Rangers are not Stanley Cup contenders because I don't see
anything. That they're maybe at best a dark horse. They're maybe at best a dark horse, but yeah, as of right now, no, they're not, and they could be maybe a dark horse. But the thing is, like, even without a trade deadline acquisition, if everything goes according to plan, and I know everything going according to plan is asking for a lot here, there is a scenario where the team in front of them is. It's just that there are certain players develop, the players do well under the coach's system, everything falls into place. I mean, that's the thing. Like, who else besides Fox can generate offense from the blue line on a consistent basis? Could you name anyone else but him? I'm not talking about when Miller has a hot streak, right? Like, so what happens now when you have a second puck moving defenseman? Like, yeah, he's on the third pairing, but you know how much of a difference that is? They ran Fox into the ground. There is no question of that, right? Remember Game 7 when he made that mistake? Everyone's like, is that possible? He made a mistake? Like, they clearly ran him into the ground.
I could not believe my eyes when I saw that.
I was stunned. I knew, by the way, right then and there we lost. I'm like, Fox made a mistake. We're screwed. That's it. Yeah. We're done. And then like you have Blake Wheeler, hopefully, on the third line. Like now, if Heedle's on the third line, like, listen, I hope they try Miller and Fox. And I know people are going to get angry at that because what are you talking about? Lindgren and Fox is perfect. Like Miller and Trouba's type of style, they just don't seem to mesh. It doesn't work.
They were out there for like the most goals against by any defensive pairing in the league.
It doesn't work. Trouba would be great with a defensive defenseman like Lindgren. And imagine Miller with Fox. Like Miller it's okay for Miller to somewhat make mistakes now. And by the way, his stick reaches the other side of the rink, right? But
Yeah.
and if that can't get there, he could skate there within like 0.3 seconds, right? And it's insane. And
That's
then,
what
oh wait, you got the smartest defenseman in the world right next to you. Like, how do you not consider trying that out? If it doesn't work out, worst comes to worst, you could always come back, right? But like, you don't try that out in January because that's when you gotta win. Now's the time to try it out. And I mean, I believe Laviolette, because I was looking through this earlier, I believe Laviolette kind of alluded to that, kind of saying he's got to try different pairings. And it's not like trying for a game where you're actually trying for, a stretch, because, and also with Hedel as second line center, because there are plenty of possible situations where it's like, it's a totally different line combinations and it's an incredible team. And with Hedel, like, at least now, if he's on the third line, I know he's with Blake Wheeler and possibly, I'm not saying Jimmy Vesey's a top 6 player or anything, but that's a solid third line. That is a very solid third line. And their fourth line, remember fourth line last year? What was it? Reeves? I can't believe I'm blanking on this. Goodrow and...
Was it Vesey? No, Vesey was on the third line.
Vesey was on the... No, Vesey was actually, I believe, on the first line.
Carpenter, maybe?
Or Vesey was on the second line. Oh,
are you talking about the first 15 games of the season?
Yeah, I believe Carpenter. But the point is, like, now your fourth line is Goodrow, Bonino, and one of Pitlick and Belzal. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. And, obviously,
yeah.
Pitlick and Belzal is probably like the one, the two players that are fighting for a spot. That's it. That's the one battle for a spot right
Riley
now.
Nash.
Maybe Cooley, right? And that's the thing, like Riley Nash, but it's also that he played in the AHL the whole entire year last year.
Okay, yeah, so maybe not him. Maybe
he's
like AHL fodder.
It could. The interesting thing is that, like, the Rangers do always get the best out of their depth players like that, like VC. Remember Grabner? Like, Grabner came in from 8 goals and he scored 30. He went back to his Islander years, right? Like, the Rangers do. I don't know what it is, but with those players, they do well. If they apply that to the rookies, we're talking about a dynasty here. But yeah, that's kind of Hoffman. I don't see any. Listen, I'm not the most knowledgeable prospects guy, but and obviously, like you, I listen to people like Drew, Josh, and they listen. Like, it's different now because I was speaking to them about this draft day, and now it's like Hoffman put like 10 pounds of muscle. So it's a bit different now.
Yeah, Hoffman looks like he was putting in the work, though. Yeah,
but that's the thing. Don't rush his development. Let him cook in the Hartford, and that's okay.
I agree, man. I agree. Like, I would almost argue just so he could spend time with Knobloch. That's what I said last week. Is put him with in the AHL just so he could play with Knobloch.
Right, like Cooley is expected to be a fourth liner or third liner, so that's why you don't have to worry about his ice time, right?
Yeah.
But with Othman, I mean, listen, I would love to see an Othman, Hedel, Wheeler third line. My gosh, that would be incredible. But it's just like, you don't stunt his development just to contend. If he's the piece that you're thinking in order to contend, then you're already screwed from the beginning, right? So at least let him cook in Hartford. If you truly believe he's not ready, if he just totally surprises everyone, then sure, I'm all for it. It's just, do not rush him.
It's a good point. I think Cooley over Othman for making the team. Like, if Othman like absolutely torches it in preseason and is like, this guy's can't miss, like, like, this guy needs to be playing, like, then put him with Panarin instead of Lafreniere. Like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, but that's if he shows up and he shows that he's ready. Like, last preseason, I thought he looked really, really sharp. Like, very good. Like, he was killing penalties. He was scoring goals. He was making plays.
He should have been in Hartford last year, but
that whole because
agreement,
of his age, because of his age, it sucks. But that whole
it does.
thing.
It kind of essentially, like last year, he said he worked on instead of the goal scoring, he worked on his 200. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
this is what happens when you only have 3 hours of sleep the night before. But he was working on other parts to his game, and that's what you want, because that type of stuff then translate translates to the NHL. Like I believe Rupp also said this on NHL Network, maybe it was a year ago, something like, when you come to the NHL, as long as you have the fundamentals, right, of like the defensive side, just away from the puck, then you build off that with your skill, right? And you need that, especially with these types of coaches, right? Because the minute you screw up defensively, doesn't matter that you're a first overall pick, you're in the doghouse. You're in the fourth line. Although then you see someone else who's a veteran do it, and they ended up getting promoted.
Right.
Like it makes
demoralizing.
like that's also another thing. Like with Lafreniere, like what do you think if you're Lafreniere, right? You make a mistake, right, and you're down in the doghouse. Then you see someone do the exact worst. You see Goodrow literally pass it to Jack Hughes, if you remember that. And give him a breakaway. Like, what do you think if you're Lafreniere? You're like, what the hell? Like, what is this? And it's just, hopefully, I've been burnt too many times, but hopefully it seems like there's going to be actually clarity, structure, and a system here that everyone could get with.
I'm actually excited for preseason, man.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, it's been 4 months?
May. So June, July, August, September. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been way too long.
Yep.
It's been.
I am actually excited for preseason. I can't.
And the thing is, it wasn't an active offseason. Like, remember the Jack Eichel summer? Like, we had stuff to talk about until like the mid-August because we were just all waiting on that.
Yeah. Last summer too, we were busy, like, even if it, like, with our own podcast, like getting guests and stuff, like there was stuff to talk about. But this off season, it was just like everybody went to sleep after like the first 2 weeks of free agency.
Oh yeah, no, there was no pulse.
Nothing.
There was zero pulse, and it's crazy because like before, you're like, you would never have thought that Lafreniere would sign way after Miller. Everyone thought Miller was going to be the complicated contract. And although Byram kind of helped settle everything down because he was a fair comparable, even though Miller was a bit more, that's why, he got more, but that kind of settled. I actually wonder what would have happened if the Byram deal dragged out a little more. What would have happened with Miller? Because I seriously think that impacted that immensely, the timeline there. With Lafreniere, it's like, I actually had a theory, and I think Josh had one as well, that the reason why it was taking so long is not because of the negotiations, but because they were waiting based off his conditioning and working out during the summer for maybe a quote unquote bonus, like adding a little for the contract. Obviously it's not, it sounds a bit crazy, and it's probably not, like 99.9%. It's not true.
So tell me Lafreniere worked out this offseason then.
I don't know. I have no idea. I wish I had a source tell me that, but no, I did not hear that whatsoever. No, I don't think anyone did. I don't think anyone knew what he did at all. You saw videos of everyone else working out. You didn't see him. That doesn't mean he didn't.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Right. It doesn't mean he didn't. It's just like, you still question it. Like,
you question it because why is everybody else posting about it then?
Right. What do you post about playing baseball or something?
Yeah. Like, put it on
like that's the thing. Also, it's like everyone's getting mad at him not working out. Like, hold on. First of all, this is a 21 and to be 22-year-old kid. He's allowed to play baseball and allowed to have his life. Like his sole purpose in life isn't for your entertainment.
Yeah, like I'm a little more lenient with that. Like I understand.
That being said, though, it would be nice to see some, actual content of him, working out.
Yeah, dedication.
Dedication, that was the word.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, because Hako, you always see it. You always see like videos of him surface.
You saw Hito also. I don't know if this year you saw Hito, but I remember last year I saw. I honestly, like, who do you think has more goals this season, Kako or Hito?
Hito. I think Hito could score 30 goals, man.
Is this assuming that he's on the second or third line?
Doesn't matter to me. Like, honestly, like if you give him a little bit of power play time too, like I think he got 20 goals on the third line, dude.
Right.
Like,
well, first of all, we have to take into account he always
has way more than in like a normal third line.
He always though has like a 5-goal streak or 10-goal. He always has one of those per season. So it's really a question of like how much of a goal streak does he have? How many games? Is it 5? Is it 10? I think that then depends on if he gets more than Kako.
Yeah, that's a good bet there. Like, it's a good determinant of whether he will or will not get.
It's just crazy. Like I like when he's on, I mean, holy cow.
Like Heedle's shot, Heedle is the only one on the team that
He
aside
has
from
the most
Zibanejad,
underrated shot, by the way.
yeah,
He has the
he
most
wants to shoot.
underrated shot.
Yeah, he loves to shoot it. He wants to score goals. You see it. You
When
see
he
it.
was beaver tapping, that's what I want. That's what I
Beaver
want.
tap.
I want you to be selfish. I want you to want the puck. Like everyone's think always be selfish. No, 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 no. If you lack confidence, you make sure to be the selfish puck possession player first. Then once you believe you're good enough and have good enough judgment, then you balance it out. And I mean, that's also a thing with Lafreniere. He doesn't with Lafreniere, with Kako and Hito, I always saw sparks. That's why it's like with Lafreniere, like I'm going to say that, wait, I believe this kid can actually still do something and I have confidence that he can. But at the same time, I'm like, but I can't stand here and say, have I seen those sparks, those promising signs?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's like, where does this go? Like, what happens if he remains the same and we're at the trade deadline?
At the trade deadline, I don't think anything happens.
Well,
in the
I don't
off
think it
season,
happens simply because of their cap space. Because at the end of the day, he still scored 39 points and he's making 2.7, 2.8 million. Players that make 2.8 million aren't scoring that amount of points.
I think it's like 2.35 for Lafreniere.
Oh my, I'm sorry. Wait, I'm getting confused with who's 2.8.
I don't know who's 2.8 on the Rangers, but
I think that was a speculation if he had a 3-year deal. Wait.
Yeah, he has 2.35 Lafreniere.
Okay, I was getting him mixed up with someone else.
Yeah.
Or a comparable if there would have been a certain amount of years.
2.325, sorry, is
right, because Kako got 2.2, correct? I think that was the fair comparable.
I think Kako got 2.3 actually. I think 2.3 even. Wait,
he got 18 points, but it was in 41 games. So if you kind of double that, it's roughly.
Kako is 2.1. Kako is $2.1 million.
Boy, I am really rusty at this because with the past 2 months, it's like there's no activity. So you're not looking at cap friendly. You're maybe looking at it once.
But I get what you're saying. Like the comparable, it was always going to be around. So Hito was 2.3. Then Kako became a RFA last offseason, and his was right around there, 2.1. Then Lafreniere became an RFA this offseason, and his was 3.25. So slightly above Hito's.
Right.
I guess because he's the first overall pick, so a little bit more, $25,000 a year. So
yeah,
would have worked itself out too.
Yeah.
But I need to see a lot. Like the summary of like this episode and our talk on Lafreniere, I need to see a lot from him. Like I'll know a little bit next week when a week of camp has gone by and preseason games have started. Like we'll see the Rangers. We'll see the Rangers in action. We'll see Lafreniere play a game. We'll see him in practice, how he is. We'll get to ask Johnny Lazarus what he looks like up close. I'll be going to one of the games, I think, one of the preseason games next week. So I'm excited for that.
The thought process, though, with Lafreniere is with the team entirely, right? Like you're like, I guess not that much, but it's more of like you see this working out and being great, but it's more of like, I got to wait and see, right? It's not that I think we're screwed. I think we're going to be great. It's just, I just want to wait and see what's going to happen. All the signs look like it could work out, but you just got to wait and see.
Like last season, we had very high expectations for the Rangers. We all knew this. They're coming off a conference finals trip, and we were severely disappointed. But the season they went to the conference finals, I remember not having high expectations. Like I knew like they made the trades and stuff. Like they traded Booch, and they got their grit and like Boudreaux and guys like that. And I just had no expectations. So like I was just genuinely surprised that the Rangers kept proving me wrong that season. And but like when you transition from that, reaching the conference finals, your expectations are very high. But now you go back to being severely disappointed, and now you're back to no expectations. So that's what I have in store for like the Rangers this season. Like I don't have like high I have high expectations, but at the same time, I will not be surprised at all if they shit the bed.
It could go either way, honestly. It could go Stanley Cup champions, or it could be like there are some serious problems here. All hell breaks loose. It's either or. It could go any way right now.
Yeah, if they don't respond well to this coach, a lot of jobs are gonna be gone. Like Drury could be gone, like
I honestly
assistant
don't know to
GM.
what extent it's. Yeah,
That's
it
what
could get ugly.
that's why I think Laviolette came in here because he's a hard ass and the players we've said it on the show here. The players let the team like they let everybody down, they let the fans down and you know, there's serious questions about the work ethic, I think. And this guy, Laviolette, is known for being hard in practices and getting the most out of his players. Um, I know we talked about a little bit about analytics, but I showed you like those stats when we was on the Predators. We didn't even mention this in this episode. We got to wrap this
Oh,
up
right,
soon.
right,
But
right.
yeah, like Laviolette's teams, the first 3 years were really good with the Predators. Like he didn't have the greatest offensive players, but even strength numbers were really solid. Like top 10 every year as a team. Like even strength, like expected goals for, um, shots for, Corsi for, like all of it, scoring chances, very good. His defense was active too. You had mentioned some prominent
Seth
names, right?
Jones was during his first year,
Yes,
which I totally
Jones
forgot to
was
mention.
actually really good. Yes, Jones was good before he got traded to for Johansson, and then when they got Johansson, like they were still very good, even strength team. They were even better, I
It's
think.
fine. They'll draft another Seth Jones. That's how good they are
Right.
drafting defensemen.
Right. Like a Seth Jones, like when he was good, like not Seth Jones now.
Yeah, no, not
Yeah.
definitely, definitely not now. Although, can we really make fun of it considering we have kind of a similar situation?
With like Lafreniere. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
not Lafreniere.
What are you talking about?
I was talking Truba. I'm not saying it.
Oh, Truba. Oh God. Yeah. That
By
contract
the
is
way,
really bad.
everyone's talking about Stamkos. Oh, because that's everyone's new player to big name to go after. Truba for Stamkos, go captain for captain like you did for Ryan Callahan and
Oh my
Martin St. Louis all those years
God.
ago. Let's do it right now. Let's do it.
Oh my God, dude. Might have to throw 2 first-round picks in there.
It would never happen. And it's
Yeah.
interesting to see also what happens next offseason. Like you said, what happens to everything, falls apart. What happens next offseason when Truba's becomes a modified trade clause,
But
I believe.
yes, like you'll still have Panarin on the no trade clause, Zibanejad's on the no trade clause, so those guys are going to be safe. Like, but if Truba's is
Kreider's
modified,
also, by the way.
Kreider's modified or full
I
no
believe
trade?
he becomes a modified.
Kreider, I think Kreider is the one you're looking at then, because they like Truba and they'd like him enough for him to be the
Picking
captain.
Truba over Kreider,
I know.
Whatever sanity I have left, it will be gone. And I know you're right because I see it definitely playing out that way. And like the thing is, like people are saying, why is he the captain when he doesn't play to an elite level? Even though that's not what a captain is. Like he's an incredible captain based off what we hear. And if they weren't for the $8 million contract, he'd get a lot less criticism.
Listen, like this decision, it is very clear to me that this decision has literally zero to do with fans. Like the fans could just, for
Like
all they
everyone said
care, it just
Kreider, but it's
doesn't
like you don't
exist.
know what goes on in that locker
But
room.
the decision was made. Everything they said about it is referring to the players. They want a players captain. They want a captain that the players are going to like and respond and look. They're not naming a captain that a fan will enjoy. You know what I mean? So while he might not be our favorite choice, he is the best choice for this group of Rangers. And for that, like, I can't question that. It's not up to me. If the players love him in the room, they all respond well to him when he speaks, then that's the thing. Then he's the captain. That's what it means for that's what the Rangers wanted out of this captain that they named. And in this point in time with this team, the Rangers had not had a captain in a long time, and they were very particular about who they wanted to be that guy. They waited multiple years, even after Trouba got here, to name a captain. They wanted to see who among this group would be the one to lead them into battle because everybody's locked into contracts. So it's got to be somebody they're comfortable with.
And who knows? With maybe, let's say Lindgren is now his partner, right? Maybe a defensive defenseman is what he needs. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be an $8 million player, but also the thing is, people forget the first half, he was injured. We never really got clarity on that, but from what we heard, it was pretty bad. And with the injury,
I could see him playing through an injury.
Oh, he definitely did. There were reports of an injury, but we never found out what it was. But it was, you could tell, like everyone was like making fun of Trill, like, oh, he's always been this bad. He was not this bad. No, that's not what Trouba is. Like, Trouba isn't bad. It's just that $8 million contract kind of twists things.
Yes.
And what happens if he's $4 million? What happens if he's $4 million?
Our opinions of him are far less
totally
extreme.
different. And like at the time, right? That's what defensemen were going for. That was pre-COVID.
Like,
the cap was skyrocketing, not skyrocketing, but it was going up and up and up. He was a right-handed defenseman who just scored 50 points. It was $8 million.
Let's say Lindgren and Trouba's salaries were swapped. Their cap hits were swapped. We would be complaining about something completely different right now.
Yeah,
Lindgren plays like an $8 million player every night. It may not be the value, like the right value.
Well, they value the problem is the value is based off points. Unfortunately, that's why people like Slavin aren't paid as much.
Yeah. I'm saying.
No, but I get what you're saying.
Lindgren plays the way he plays. It's like he's worth every dollar of whatever contract you're going to give him because he leaves his heart and soul out there. He blocks shots. He bleeds. He gets injured and he comes back. You know what I mean? He'll block a shot, go off for a few shifts, and come right back. Or leave for a period and come right back. You know what I mean? Like, if he was making $8 million, I would not complain about it because of the way he plays. I know it's a little expensive, yeah, and if Trouba's making $3 million, I would barely even mention his name. You kidding me? Like, $3 million is nothing.
No, that's.
I mean, in this cap, yeah, it's significant. But if you compare it to the $8 million he's making right now, then no, I'm not going to complain about him at all. At all.
It's with Trouba. I'm really hopeful that if they switch the pairings, he could play much better. He could play more freely. It's
I'm glad that Laviolette's again. Seems to be the theme of the episode. We have to see what actually happens.
Right. It's more Laviolette, a waiting game.
I like how he said it, though, too. Like, I know you guys have had a lot of success with Lindgren, Fox, and Miller Trouba, but I'm going to change everything because I want to see how it looks. I want to try new things. You know what I mean?
Again, that's what you want to hear, but
right.
What's actually going to happen?
Right.
Again, not a knock on Laviolette.
It's not even just on Laviolette, too. Like, the players themselves said all the right things. After they won those
everyone
first 2
can
games
say the right
the
things. It's just a matter of putting your money where your mouth is.
Yep.
And it could be Laviolette's 100% telling the truth. And in a month from now, we're all ecstatic. But it could be what happened last time. So I guess it's the waiting game. That's kind of what it is.
I don't want to. I'm too damn excited for hockey to start. Like, I'll lower my hopes, like simmer down here a little bit, like with the Laviolette stuff. But I'm really excited to see the NHL come back. I want to see preseason, honestly. Like, I'm really I'm really
I
damn
might go to
excited.
a game because where I work now is like right by Grand Central. So worst comes to worst, I could just wait till last minute, and if the prices go down, I'll buy it and then
Yeah,
right
I
there.
heard the prices for the tickets, they tend to go down last minute. So,
Last minute. But that's the thing. Like you can't do that when you're all the way back home. But when
yeah.
you're already right there, you could wait till last minute and then, oh wait, if I can't do it, all right, I'm going home anyway. Great. Like, I'll watch it from home. But so that's kind of, I'm thinking like also
Yeah.
you gotta think like, are they gonna announce the lines, who's gonna be playing in which preseason games, like right before the game or the morning before? That I really hope the morning before, because I don't want to go to a game and it ends up it's like 99% AHL players. That would not be
Yeah.
fun. But
Yeah, it's
no,
like your first line has Brodzinski and Cooley on it.
the
Not a
real
knock
Johnny
on those
Hockey.
guys. Yeah, the real Johnny Hockey. Johnny be good.
The amount of times I saw him, what's the league in Minnesota that some NHL players play in during the summer?
The Butte League?
Yeah. Like
I think I know what you're talking about,
I
yeah.
think like every other day I see another Johnny Brodzinski like goal. I'm like, I don't know what this guy is doing in the summer, but like,
Yeah, he's playing
well,
against,
there are other NHL. Who else plays in that for the Rangers?
Did Lindgren play in that? I think Lindgren played in that.
Lindgren played. I know Pitlick played. Yeah, because I remember Pitlick and Lindgren actually were on the same team and they made a play together. I'm trying to remember. I'm forgetting probably a few very obvious ones.
This is in Minnesota?
I think it's in Minnesota. No, that's why I was thinking
Those
Miller for a
college people,
second.
they get so mad, like, if you mix up the 2 and stuff like that, like, I'm like, "Alright, I went to college in New Jersey, I'm sorry, I don't know about that. I don't know about maybe I'll educate myself this year. I might watch some college hockey, honestly, like, I watched one of those Frozen Four games, that was pretty entertaining, man.
When was the game with? I think it was the Frozen Four. I'm not sure. There was like an overtime winner. It was
Oh, that was,
like they scored with like a minute
Quinni
left.
yeah, that was I think that was Quinnipiac, and,
That was
that
insane.
was Minnesota State, I think, and Quinnipiac came back and tied it and won it in overtime, and I think that was to go to the finals. Actually,
I think that was the
that
finals.
might have been the finals, man.
I don't know. I
I'm
feel
not
like people are screaming at us right now. They're also screaming their heads
Yeah!
off at us.
"What are you
Like I could
doing,
just
you
hear them
idiot?"
right now. Like, what are
Oh,
you
it's so
doing? Do you even
easy.
know hockey? But
Oh, casuals. Ugh. Yeah, that's why I'm gonna watch. I'll try watching some college hockey. Maybe it'll be easier to watch than the Rangers on MSG. Like maybe it'll be easier to actually get that channel than it is to get MSG.
oh
It's
yeah,
like damn near impossible to get it for free.
yeah. No, it's I'm lucky enough to have Verizon Fios, but yeah, I've
Yeah,
definitely
damn you, Xfinity.
that's been
I would cancel my cable, but Xfinity's the only internet service provider in my area. They have a
real.
monopoly
Oh
here.
gosh.
Yeah. So I can't even cancel it. There's
Well,
nothing I could do.
what you could do is you could instead pay for the new MSG
Yeah, the MSG
situation
Plus thing.
instead.
Yeah, that's
But I'm not
good.
sure if you're able to like project that to your screen because they
Yeah,
have like restrictions. But if you pay for it, I wonder if you're allowed to.
yeah. My issue is like getting it so my parents could watch too. Like I would just want the app on
Gotcha.
my TV so I could like, all right, here, mom, press the guide and then go to here and then press OK. And that's it. It brings MSG up.
I
Like I don't
remember the
want to have to
one
like
year where I had a
grab my
problem.
HDMI converter in my laptop
Yeah, no,
and the
that's just
HDMI cord and fish the HDMI cord behind my TV every night, every other night and plug it in that way and then stream it from my computer. I don't wanna do that. It's
I
too
remember
much
the
work,
last
man.
time when the Rangers played Buffalo in like what was it, 2007? Was it 2007?
That is before I started watching, but what did they
But I
not
think
have
that
MS
was a year where I think it was a playoff game, and for some reason it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't on MSG. I don't remember what it was, but basically we didn't have the channel to watch it. And um, when my parents drove me to one of their friends' houses to watch the game, and it was just like 3-0 Buffalo. I'm like, oh wow, great! Like after all that, like just three
Yeah.
nothing. And
Yeah,
maybe it
you
was
go
something else.
through
It
all
was
that
something
to
like that.
go try and watch a game, and that's how they reward
Yeah,
you.
and just that's how. Yeah.
Like, I would be like, "Oh, you guys better be, like, tied or up 1-0 or
So
something
help me
like
God,
that."
I will come to Madison Square Garden and coach the team myself if you guys
Yeah,
don't get your act together.
yeah. It may cost me another $500 to get into the
Right,
building, but I
right.
will be there.
Exactly. It may put me in debt for the next 20 years, but
Yeah.
I will get there.
Yeah. Alright, we're gonna wrap this up. Jacob, thanks so much for joining.
Of
Ice
course.
Cold Takes fans, we will see you next week.